Welcome to the English with Kirsty podcast from www.englishwithkirsty.com. Here I'll be sharing with you tips, information and other learning resources so that you can improve your business English. Hello everybody, and I hope you're having a good week. And this week we're going to conclude our three-part series about keeping conversations going and avoiding awkward silences. So this is the last week that we'll be doing this. I've got 4 more tips to complete the 10, and after that we'll be moving on to something else. And if you would like a document with all these tips together, because at the moment you can read them on the 3 different show notes pages, but if you want a PDF with all the tips in the same place, you can go to today's show notes page, which is www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast/episode 15, and there you'll find the 4 tips from today, but you'll also there's a form where you can sign up to get the PDF with all the 10 tips on it. And also on that page you can give me any feedback. You can tell me what you'd like to see in the podcast in the future, if you've got any ideas for topics that you'd like me to cover, or if you'd just like to tell me where you are and if you're finding the podcast useful, anything really. I would love to know who's listening to my podcast and what you think about it. And similarly, if you want to leave a review on iTunes as well, that would be great. But really it's more about just getting in touch with people and finding out who's listening to the podcast and what you think of it. So our last 4 tips in this series. So number 7 is about bringing other people into the conversation, and that's sometimes a good thing to do because if you have a social situation, for example, sometimes some people are a bit shy and they're maybe not talking to anyone, so if you can include them in the conversation that you're having, it's a nice thing for them because they're being included, and it also brings a new perspective to the conversation that you're having, so everybody wins. And they may have heard the conversation that you were having, they may not, but new people equals new ideas, so it's good to bring more people into the conversation. And also you can introduce people that haven't met. If you know the 2 people and they haven't met each other before, you can introduce them, and then it gives them something to talk about because they can get to know each other, but they also may do the same for you later. If there's somebody that you haven't met, they may return the favour later. So number 8 is do some research. If you know that you're going to a specific meeting and you know what the meeting's going to be about, maybe do some research online, see what you can find out, see what topics are likely to come up, and then think in advance about what you think about those ideas or topics, or at least make sure that you have the vocabulary you think you're likely to need in English. These kinds of conversations, more informal conversations, are generally more spontaneous, so you can't really plan for them, but sometimes if you're going to an event you could think, okay, who's going to be at this conference, who am I likely to see there, who are they, where do they work, what are they doing, that kind of thing. I don't mean that you should go and do a full spreadsheet of information on each person. I don't mean that, but I just mean, think about things that may come up and what you would like to say about them. So number 9, don't fill gaps in the conversation with information about yourself, but also any information, because sometimes you may miss something that somebody wants to say if you take the conversation direction on too quickly. So if you want to ask somebody what they think about something, for example, try not to ask lots of questions at once, so 3 different questions at the same time. Ask the first one, let them answer it, and then move on. But if you bombard people with a lot of information, or if you ask them several questions at once, it becomes harder to answer them, because then they need to keep it in their head all the things that you said, and they may just need a few minutes, particularly if English isn't their native language either. But even if it is, sometimes people need a bit of time to think about how they want to put their answer together. So if somebody is taking that time, let them have it. It's okay. You don't need to fill that gap. I know it's similar to what we were saying last week, but sometimes people just need time to process the information. You don't need to fill that gap. And the last thing is be proactive and move on. So before the conversation fizzles out, then say something to show that this conversation is ending and you're moving on to another one, rather than just standing there and hoping that the other person will think of something to say. So you can say things like, it's been good speaking with you. I need to speak to some other people now. I need to catch up with some other people. I'm going to get some more food. I need to make a phone call. I'll get back to you later. If it's true, don't make empty promises. That doesn't do much for your reputation. It's best to be honest. But yeah, if you've enjoyed talking to somebody and you're going to catch up with them, I don't know, by email or arrange a meeting with them, you can say that you'll be back in touch and then move on. But it's best to be proactive, I've found, rather than just to wait and hope that the other person gets the idea and ends the conversation and moves on. Because that's good for situations where you think you've said all you've got to say, but also if you feel that you're kind of stuck with somebody who's talking a lot and kind of monopolizing the conversation, and you don't want to spend the rest of the event with them, it's also good to be proactive, so you can say, okay, well there's some other people I need to catch up with now, see you again sometime. But you don't have to stay with the other person for as long as they want to talk to you. It's also good to be proactive sometimes, otherwise you can feel a bit trapped. So those are the last 4 tips. I hope they're useful, and next time we'll be doing something completely different. So this series is finished now. If you want the PDF with all 10 tips, you can go to the show notes page and sign up for that. And otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a good week, and see you again next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the English with Kirsty podcast. If you have any questions or comments, my email address is kirsty@englishwithkirsty.com, or you can go to www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast, where you'll find information about the individual episodes.